What's up, guys, and welcome back to another episode of Keeping Up with the Commanders. I'm your host, Mason Kenahan, and today I'm bringing on the fullback fiend himself, David Miller. It's Miller Football. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Mason. I appreciate the use of my title. I feel like it doesn't get enough recognition anymore, but I'm happy to be here. I'm excited.
Yeah, we've got a great matchup this weekend.
Absolutely.
It's my Commanders against your Bears, number one against number two, which I said before, but we'll find out who that number two is going to be.
Right.
But Caleb against Jayden or Caleb against Mariota. We'll start with the injury report because I feel like that's kind of the big, big cloud like hovering over this game. Is that injury report for Washington? We're recording this on Thursday night. It's going to come out Friday morning. So Brandon Coleman is going to have 2 straight days of no practice. Jayden Daniels, 2 straight days of no practice. Everyone else is pretty much good. Clelin Ferrell had a DNP on Thursday as well. But beyond that, everyone is pretty much good. For your Bears, though, there's some secondary pieces that are kind of banged up.
Yeah, Jaquan Brisker and Kyler Gordon, 2 of the more important pieces in our secondary, both haven't practiced for 2 days, which is really, really scary. But I am impressed with some of the backup guys, and I'm sure we'll talk about that when we get into actually talking about the on-paper matchups. But that's tough. And then Tyreek Stevenson, our other starting corner, is limited. He did practice a little bit today, so hopefully he'll be around. But, it's certainly not ideal on the Chicago end of things either.
Yeah. Beyond the 2 guys in the secondary, you guys are pretty healthy, though. Like, Washington has been pretty much one of the healthier teams throughout this season. It was really last week's game that kind of things started to go downhill. In the last 2 weeks, really, with Jonathan Allen being out for the rest of the season.
And now, I forgot about that. That's tragic.
It is pretty tragic, especially with who we have behind him right now. But it's not great. Brandon Coleman is out of practice for the first. He's in concussion protocol right now, so I doubt he plays.
That's where Brisker's at.
Yeah, so yeah, he probably won't play either. He's in concussion protocol.
Sadly.
Yeah, but we got to get to the main guy, and it's going to have a really big impact on this game. It's number 5 in Burgundy, Jayden Daniels. How much of an impact do you think missing Jayden will have on this Commanders offense?
I mean, it's obviously going to be huge because you have, I hate to admit it, but the best rookie quarterback right now not playing. That's really tough. I know. I had to swallow my pride for a moment. Yeah. I'm not afraid to admit. Because, I wasn't a big Jayden guy coming out. So to see him tearing it up has been great. Don't get me wrong. I was never rooting against him. But regardless, it's tough to not have him. But I will say, I think with the offense that Cliff has schemed up, it's not exactly the most complex thing in terms of what you're asking the quarterback to do. And that bodes really, really well for having a veteran backup like Mariota, who, he's not as good of a football player as Jayden Daniels. No one's going to try to argue that, at least not anyone sensible. There's a bunch of weird Bears fans out there. We don't claim them. I do not associate myself with them. Trust me.
There's been something else this week.
Listen, I'm so sorry. On behalf of Bears fans, I sincerely apologize for the weirdos that have probably been flooding your replies, especially. But regardless, I think it will make not as big of a difference as it would for most teams losing a massive quarterback like this. But obviously, when you need like the big play where you have to kind of break out of the system and just be like, okay, we need something here. It's 3rd and long. Terry, just get open downfield. I don't trust Mariota as much in situations like those. And honestly, with this game, I could see those being the key moments that kind of decide who comes out on top.
Yeah, I think Mariota, looking back at his performance against an XFL team last week,
right.
I mean, he looked good. He looked good against the XFL Carolina Panthers. So, I mean, that was good to see because, especially his time in the preseason, he got limited time because he got injured and was placed on injured reserve. So he's kind of been slightly like behind schedule of ramping up for this season. And in training camp as well, his accuracy especially did not look good. And I know it was just practice and it was the preseason at the time, but that was kind of the last we saw from Mariota actually throwing like live passes. Now he's back from his injury. He's off of injured reserve. He played last week. And in that first half, it was kind of off to a slow start for him. He missed, it was a 3-and-out. He missed kind of an open receiver on like kind of a post, like a corner route. And he was open and he just missed him. And so the inaccuracies were there. And I was like, okay, it's going to be the Brian Robinson show the rest of the way, because no way this guy can throw more than 10 yards downfield. But actually, like in that second half, he threw some great passes, especially on a lot of dig routes. There was the touchdown where he rolled out to his right to Zach Ertz that he threw a good pass there. It was surprisingly good what I saw from Mariota. Now, again, I'm not saying the offense is going to be the same with Mariota, because that's not what I'm expecting here. I'm just saying I was pleasantly surprised, because I think this offense is still like playable with a guy like Mariota. Like,
For sure.
It's not going to just tumble and crash and burn with him under center, because, I mean, like you mentioned, he's a veteran quarterback. He's kind of like a similar type of quarterback compared to Jayden Daniels in terms of his mobility and all of that. So I'm excited. If Mariota does play now, I don't want Mariota to play like multiple weeks now, but I'm curious to see if he ends up being the starter, how things go, how much Cliff will limit him and limit the passing game. How much will he like have Mariota on a leash, especially more of a veteran quarterback than a rookie. So, yeah, any other thoughts on Mariota and what this offense might look like with him under center?
No, I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head. I think there is going to be a lot of limiting. I think you're going to see a lot more Brian Robinson and Austin Eckler this week. Wait, Eckler's still healthy, right?
Yes, he is.
I just want to make sure. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. You never know with that old man.
Nah.
But regardless, I think you're going to see a lot more reliance on the run game and a lot more of like quick concepts. And I think the big thing is going to be, if you want to talk about how the offense is going to be ran, and this kind of melds into talking about the Bears defense, especially with the injuries in the secondary, I think you're going to see a lot of targets to guys not named Terry McLaurin this week, because I am almost positive we're going to have Jaylen shadowing Terry, and he has been incredible this year, which is not a slight at Terry by any means. It's just you have the unstoppable force versus the immovable object. When you have your backup quarterback in, you probably don't want to test that too often. No. So I think it'll be definitely interesting, but I don't know. I have a hard time projecting what's actually going to come of it, because, like you said last week, he looked really good, but he was playing a team that probably shouldn't be fielding a team right now, as opposed to going against statistically a top 5 defense that has been on an absolute tear dating back to last season.
Yeah. This Bears defense is definitely one of the tougher opponents that Washington is going to face, at least up until this point of the season, especially that defense, because oh boy, that defense is good. That defense is very good. And so if Jayden now, again, like I mentioned, the 2 DNPs for him so far, we're really going to know more on Friday. I mean, Washington fans have been speculating, is this more of like a gamemanship type thing, or is he actually like injured? And so, I mean, it's really up in the air. You don't really know yet if he's going to play or not on Sunday. But I mean, what I'm expecting is we probably won't know until like a couple hours before the game. Yeah. Because if you're holding him out and not designating availability right now, there's no point to doing that until like Sunday. Like calling the game time decision, and we'll figure it out on Sunday. So I think it'll be interesting to see if Jayden does play, how much will his legs be limited? Will Cliff let him run? Because especially on that first drive against the Panthers last week, Jayden had like 4 carries. He had like 4 or 5 carries just on that one drive alone before he was taken out of the game. So
he had more rushing yards than passing yards last week, didn't he?
Well, yeah. He had like that one. It was a play he got injured. Very first offensive play for Washington. He ran it like 45 yards, and then he kind of took like a big hit. Kind of do like, you know, with Jayden, when he like tries to slide, it always just like not just a normal slide.
I was gonna say, anytime he gets hit, it's like something out of Looney Tunes. It's not. Granted, he's done better this year with not letting that be as prevalent, but especially in college, that was like, you know, the highlight reels where people would put like the tomfoolery music over top of it. That
it was, it was not good. But he's now at the stage where like he's gone accepted to like actually sliding and wanting to run out of bounds sometimes. But he's at the stage where he tries to slide, but he doesn't know how to slide correctly. So it's kind of just like a flop to the ground instead of like a a smooth slide, like a baseball slide. And so that's what he tried to do last week, and it ended up him crunching his ribs together and bruising them. So it was not good there. I'm curious to see how much Cliff would limit him during this game if he does end up playing, and how injured is he actually, because no broken ribs. The listing is, I think, bruised ribs or something.
Right.
But that's kind of like a variety. Like, you can have like slightly bruised ribs, or you can have like very bruised ribs. So I'm not exactly sure what or how I feel about that. But going back to that Bears defense, because I want to talk about them now. It's going to be a matchup between two elite units in football. The Washington Commanders offense with Cliff Kingsbury and Matt Eberflus's defense. Just some numbers here. Washington ranks first in EPA per play, fourth in success rate, first in dropback EPA, first in rushing EPA. Like, this is a very good Washington offense, one that we haven't seen in a long time. But they're going to be going up against a Bears defense that's third in EPA, fourth in success rate, first in dropback EPA, a very good pass defense, very good secondary when healthy. How confident are you in this Bears defense? We'll start with the secondary, stopping guys like Terry and Noah. I mean, you talked about it a little bit already, but what are your thoughts?
Well, like I said, Jalen Johnson, in my biased opinion, is the best corner in football right now. My unbiased opinion, I think it would be hard to say there's three guys in the league better than him right now.
I think that's yeah.
But when you have that, you also have Tyreek Stevenson, who has been targeted at a high clip this year because of Jalen, and has done a great job at limiting receptions and, making plays on the ball and things of that nature. He's on track to play. You have Kevin Byard, who has been a massive surprise. I know, obviously, being a Commanders fan, you probably remember Philly having him last year and him not looking too hot. He's come out and been an absolute stud. PFF's loved him. He's been great in coverage. He's been really good in the run game. The secondary has been great. And then you look at the two missing pieces. Kyler Gordon is really tough because if you know anything about the Matt Eberflus defense, arguably the most important position is that nickel corner. You look back to when he was coaching the Colts, Kenny Moore, one of the best nickels in the league, such a big part of that defense for the Bears. We have Josh Blackwell, who stepped in last week. He actually or 2 weeks ago, excuse me. I forgot we had a bye for a second there. But 2 weeks ago against Jacksonville, he was making some really good hustle plays, some really good effort plays. And that's kind of what Eberflus's main mentality is above all else, even if you're not the most talented guy in the world, the quickest, the fastest, whatever, you need to work your butt off. And Josh Blackwell is the epitome of that. And same with the other safety that we'd be starting in Elijah Hicks, former 7th round pick out of Cal, if I'm not mistaken. Very, very solid backup safety, is much improved as a tackler from early in his career. So I'm pretty confident in this secondary. Even if the two big names in Brisker and Gordon don't play, because I feel like this unit does a really good job of playing as a unit and not letting guys get beat individually. You always see with this team, if somebody gets beat, there's 3 guys to the ball right away, making sure nothing huge comes of it. Now, obviously, there's exceptions to that, but like on a case-to-case basis, more often than not, that's going to be the case. And then you get the addition of the 2 linebackers and TJ Edwards and Tremaine Edmonds, who have been incredible in coverage this year. I think it'll definitely be interesting to see how Cliff attacks it. I'm sure he's going to want to go to the slot or attack wherever our backup safety and Elijah Hicks is going to be lined up a little bit more often, but I don't think it's going to be as easy as some people might think picking on the backups this week.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see how this matchup goes, especially with the quarterback position kind of in flux, with who's going to be starting there. This secondary, you mentioned a guy like Tyreek Stevenson, a guy I loved. I wanted Washington to pick him. Instead, we got Fedarian Mathis. So it's
well, no, you got
okay.
The other guy in the first round at corner.
Oh, wait, no.
Wasn't that the same? Was that not the same year? Am I tripping?
2022, right? Wasn't he 2022?
Yeah, Forbes, Gonzalez, Stevenson, they were all rookies last year.
Oh, last year. Okay, so 2023. Yeah, so then we got Forbes, and then we got Quan Martin. Okay. Yeah, for some reason, I thought he was a 2022 guy. Okay.
No, Stevenson
that makes more sense. Yeah, that makes more sense.
He plays like he's been in the league for a couple of years. But yeah, he's in year 2. And yeah, you guys could have had him, but you took.
We could.
You took a stick bug.
We took a hey, he got a pick last week.
Oh yeah, he did. He did. He got his Make-A-Wish play. He got his Make-A-Wish play.
He got a pick. So
You know,
Yeah,
he
it
has more
was.
interceptions than I do. I'll give him that.
Hey, put Andy Dalton on the Forbes list. That's what I'm saying. He's on the Forbes list now. So it's Andy Dalton and
Is he
Russell
the
Wilson.
only? I was gonna say, are there any other names on the Forbes
Yeah,
list?
Russell Wilson. That's it.
Elite company.
Yeah, it's elite company between those two. Yeah. But no, this secondary very good. One of the best Washington is going to be going up against so far this season. But where I think Washington could definitely exploit this Bears defense is that front four, and especially up the middle, because the run game for Washington has been also one of the best in the league. But that's also where statistically the Bears have kind of struggled. They are 20th in rushing EPA on defense and 17th in rushing success rate, at 38.5%. So that's where I really think Washington could exploit this Chicago defense, especially if a guy like Mariota is under quarterback and you don't know what you're going to get anytime he passes the ball. So, with a guy like Brian Robinson, who is quietly having a very good year, in my opinion, he's had 5 touchdowns in his last 4 games. He scored in all 4 of those. And I think he's over 500 yards as well. It's behind a good offensive line, surprisingly good offensive line that Washington has this season. I think you could just give the ball to Brian Robinson. It could open up the play action game as well, and you can hit stuff over the middle of the field. So I'm curious to see what you think of Chicago's run defense and how confident are you in stopping Brian Robinson and 34-year-old Austin Eckler?
Chicago's run defense is really weird because on paper it looks great. You know, I already mentioned the 2 linebackers and Edmonds and Edwards, Gervon Dexter has been incredible. He's been a little bit more of a pass rusher this year, but he certainly had some really, really solid reps in run defense. Andrew Billings, one of the better nose tackles in the league. Montez Sweat, obviously, an incredible run defending edge. Really, really hard to run around that guy. And then on the other side, you've got a rotation of Darrell Taylor and Austin Booker and DeMarcus Walker, who have all been really, really solid in the limited reps that some of the other guys get. But regardless, I'm confident that Chicago's run defense can at least hold off the Commanders' run game. And part of that does come from my anti-Cliff Kingsbury bias. I won't lie. I know Cliff's run game has been a little bit better than it has been in the past.
I
will give him his flowers. I will give him his flowers. But I still have my biases. When you have a guy that is so against 21 personnel like Cliff Kingsbury, I have things to say, especially when you have a guy like Ben Sinnott, dude. Yeah. Like, there is no reason why you shouldn't be lining up under center every once in a while with Sinnott and letting him clear out linebackers.
Yeah, we run 13 personnel, 4th most in the league. So it's not like he's not out there. But we're running 3 tight ends out there. And 2nd best in the league at doing that. So, hey.
Yeah, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But gross, I don't care. But in all seriousness, though, I am fairly confident that the run defense will hold up. But then you run into the issue of Chicago's defense will start out really flat. And I'm sure that's where a lot of the EPA per play metrics and the success rate comes from, is early on in the game, Chicago has just had a habit of starting out pretty flat, especially against the run. And then as the game goes on, the defense kind of rallies and gets things figured out. So I think it'll kind of be a war of attrition between the trenches in this game is the best way to put it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a good matchup. It's between 2 top units, Kingsbury's offense, like you mentioned, and Eberflus' defense. That'll be something to keep an eye on. Now, I kind of want to flip the sides of the ball here, go to your guy, Caleb Williams. I'm just going to leave the floor to you here. Your thoughts on Caleb Williams' first, 7 weeks, 8 weeks?
Oh my God, he's been so good. Yeah, we are a game behind because we just had our bye week. So we're going into week 9?
Week 8? I actually don't know. Week 9?
Sure. I don't. God, the season's been so fast.
It's
good
flying,
Lord.
Yeah.
Yeah. But regardless, Caleb has looked incredible. I know he started out pretty rough, and Jayden started out really good. So there's the juxtaposition between the two. But what's going on with these 2 quarterbacks reminds me a lot of what happened with Andrew Luck and RG3. Not saying that Jayden is going to suffer the same unfortunate fate that RG3 did. Knock on wood. Knock on wood.
Commanders podcast.
I'm sorry. Listen. Rookie RG3 was incredible. That should be a compliment. And he was doing a very similar thing. He was producing at a high level, in an offense that didn't ask a whole lot of the quarterback on the mental side of things. It was very much just execute the system, and when things break down, do your thing. And that's exactly what Jayden's been doing. I mean that as a compliment. I'm not saying that to take anything away from Jayden. I want to make that clear. And then on the Andrew Luck side of things, they plunged him into a more quote unquote NFL offense where it's a lot more of relying on the mental side of the quarterback's game and having to be decisive and, do a lot of the down to down thinking, for lack of a better word. I'm sure there's a way better way to put it, but that's just the word I'm going to use here. And of course, when that's happening from a rookie, you're going to struggle and then get better as time goes on. And that's kind of what we're seeing happen with Caleb. I'm not here to say that one way is better than the other. That's just how I view the situation. Because listen, they're both great, right? They're both incredible quarterbacks. And at the end of the day, that's what matters. We both have our guy.
Yes.
I don't think it should be any more conversation than that. I know people try to make something out of it. That should be the end all be all of it. But regardless, Caleb's looked incredible. He looks so decisive and so poised in the pocket. And him being better has made everyone else's jobs easier. So you see an offensive line that was horrible to start the year is really stepping up and really giving him what he needs. The receivers are coming to play. Cole Kmet's really getting going and proving to be one of the best tight ends in the sport. The run game's starting to get going because people are scared of the pass game in Chicago. Do you know how crazy that is to say?
That's pretty
when
crazy.
The Bears drop back to throw the football, defenses are scared. Insanity. Wow. It's unheard of. So yeah, Caleb's been great, and him being great makes everything else easier, makes everything else better, and I couldn't be happier.
Yeah, it's been awesome to watch Caleb develop. You can really see Caleb start developing over from week 1 to week 7. Just looking back at the games, it's been. I mean, in the stats show it too. Weeks 1 through 3, he was bottom 5 in pretty much every advanced metric. He was 29th in EPA, 26th in completion percentage over expected. Since week 4, he's 3rd in EPA per play and 2nd in completion percentage over expected. That's beautiful. Better numbers than my guy, Jayden, since week 4. So it's been awesome to see Caleb light it up so far this season. I'm looking forward to seeing him light up my secondary because I know that's going to happen. I'm running out there at corner. I'm starting that corner.
Heck yeah, man.
Yeah. Speaking of this, Commander secondary is bad. In case you got it's as bad as you think it is. St. Juice has not kind of had his 2022 season when he actually was somewhat good. It's been all downhill from there. Emmanuel Forbes, he hasn't even played half the time. He was a healthy scratch a couple weeks ago.
I'm shocked he's still on the roster. Is the secondary that bad that there's a chance every week he could start?
We have Noah Ibenogany out there and Michael Davis as our other 2 guys. So
I'm so sorry. I shouldn't laugh. I'm sorry.
Our only bright spot is Mike Sanders-Still. We're making Sanders-Still play outside. We're not even making him play in nickel because we don't have anyone on the outside. So
who's playing in the nickel?
Ibenogany.
Oof. Okay.
Yes.
I have to apologize. I haven't been up to date on my Commander's defense tape, so I don't know anything going on with that group.
Good, bro. It's bad. It's fine. It's a waste of time, really. It's bad. The safeties have been pretty solid. Jeremy Chin, Quan Martin, they've done a great job.
Oh, so Quan's playing good.
Yes, Quan's playing good.
Good.
I'm scared of number 2 in blue or orange or whatever jersey color you're wearing, because that guy last year completely lit up.
Emmanuel Forbes Senior. It was Emmanuel Forbes, dude. You guys kept trying to press DJ Moore with Emmanuel Forbes. And then you'd line him up in off coverage, and DJ Moore would hit the sickest double move you've ever seen and send that boy to the shadow realm.
Yeah.
That was with Justin Fields throwing him the football.
Yeah.
Imagine what's going to happen with Caleb throwing. I'm sorry, I can't get ahead of myself. I don't want to be rude.
No, you're good. No. Continue.
I was going to say, imagine with Caleb throwing him the football.
Yeah. No. I'm scared of him. I'm scared of Keenan Allen, Rome Odunze. This is a lot better of a receiver core than what Chicago had last year. And we saw what happened last year. This is a worse secondary than what Washington had last year. And we also saw what happened last year. Now it's going to be worse. So the secondary, I am very concerned about. Caleb might go for 400 yards and 4 touchdowns, so that won't be fun. But moving to kind of the big guys in the trenches, with DeAndre Swift, I haven't really been able to keep that much track of kind of like Swift because he's kind of like a polarizing player. Some people really like him, some people don't. What are your thoughts on Swift and kind of the run game in general for Shane Wall? Oh, sorry, no. Before we get to that, what are your kind of just thoughts on Shane Waldron overall as an offensive coordinator?
It was a rough start. It was a really rough start. But as things have kind of started to fall into place, the offensive line has gotten better just from playing together. Because that was one of the big gripes early in the year was the offensive line was horrible. But you had a bunch of moving pieces, guys going down, guys stepping in. And, they've kind of like found their 5. And since they've gotten to that point, Waldron's done a good job of making their jobs a lot easier. A lot of bootlegs, a lot of play action, a lot of taking the stress off of them and putting it onto Caleb. And Caleb's done a great job shouldering that pressure, making plays, doing his thing. So I think, as silly as it sounds, I don't know if you saw the report from like way early in the season where it was Caleb, Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, and Cole Kmet sat down Shane Waldron. Were like, listen, buddy, we have talented ball players on this team. Let us do our thing. Because he was calling this really conservative offense. Gerald Everett was our tight end 1 for the first 2 weeks. Like I remember that. It was brutal.
Wow.
But since then, he's really turned it up. He's really found his groove. Him and Caleb are on the same page. All the weapons are on the same page. I'm really happy with Shane Waldron now. And you mentioned the run game. He's making DeAndre Swift look like a good running back. I'm not a DeAndre Swift guy. I have never been a DeAndre Swift guy. The thing I value most in a running back is vision. And that boy could not see the Red Sea if Moses himself parted it for him. He has no vision whatsoever. But he realizes that, and he's made Swift's job a lot easier with a lot of the play calls and the way they're running him. And then he takes advantage of that, and, he'll get you a 5-10 yard carry with DeAndre Swift and then run Roschon Johnson down your throat, who's the polar opposite, where Swift's your lightning, Roschon's your thunder. And he's done a great job of working them together. The only thing that bothers me about Shane Waldron is since he's found his groove, Kari Blasingame has been a healthy scratch twice. And they keep putting a center at fullback, and it makes me want to cry.
Oh, I've been seeing those tweets. I've assumed Kari's hurt. But
he was hurt for a couple weeks. He hurt his hand and his knee after like week 2. And then for the 2 weeks after he was activated or like was healthy, was able to play, he was a healthy scratch. And now he's just playing special teams.
Yeah.
It's tough. It's really tough. I am the most conflicted man among all Bears fans. The only one that's conflicted. We have a passing game, but at what cost?
At what cost? Yeah. Sorry.
I was just going to say, it's like the monkey's paw. I've been begging for years for the Bears to get a quarterback, and they're like, okay, you can have your quarterback, but your fullback's never going to play again.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, hey, at the end of the day, the team just got to win Super Bowls, And what makes
cooler if they were winning them with Kari Blasingame lining up.
Yeah. I got to say, is DeAndre Swift and Roschon Johnson, is Lightning and Thunder a better nickname than Sonic and Knuckles over in Detroit?
No, that's peak. Because Lightning and Thunder, that's nothing new. Every tandem with a power back and a speedy back is Thunder and Lightning. But Sonic and Knuckles is awesome. Man, I miss David Montgomery so much. I love him dearly, and I hate how much I like Jahmyr Gibbs.
Yeah, Detroit's got a pretty good run game over the last
Unfortunately, they do.
Yeah, but you mentioned this Bears offense has kind of really hit their stride so far, 35-plus points in each of the last 2 games. Now they're going to be going up against a pretty bad defense as well, so I probably expect them to put up 30-plus again if I'm looking at this team. For Washington, I think the key to stopping this Shane Waldron offense is probably getting to Caleb. I know that's kind of the key to win for every team when they go up against Caleb Williams, especially a rookie Caleb Williams. Washington has the 6th highest sack rate in the league somehow, even without Montez Sweat and Chase Young. Yeah. Hey, man, Dante Fowler.
Clearly.
Say that. Yeah. Dante Fowler, Dorrance Armstrong. Armstrong's been kind of hurt, but like Fowler, Javonte Jean-Baptiste out of Notre Dame, the 7th-round rookie.
Crazy.
So, yeah, they've been going at it. And Caleb as well. He's taken the tied for 3rd most sacks this season, so that's kind of obvious.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on kind of Caleb's sack rate and where things stand there?
Like I was saying, I attribute a lot of that to the line. And I know Bears fans did the same thing for 3 years about Justin Fields. It's the line's fault. I promise this time it's actually the line's fault because Caleb has an internal clock. He can feel when pressure's coming. And he does a really good job of getting the ball out when he needs to, whereas Justin didn't have any of that, right?
Yeah.
But, there's only so much you can do when you get trapped between your tackle and your guard. And, you have 6 guys coming at you. Like, the Bears offensive line, it's held up over the past couple weeks, but early in the year, it was horrendous. Like, I don't know if you remember the Texans game. That was like watching literally us sending a lamb to the slaughter. It was horrible. Then you had like 3 or 4 games like that to start the year. And then these last couple games where the offense has found its footing, it's looked a lot better. So I'm hoping that trend continues because, you mentioned the progression of Caleb's been great. He's gotten better at least one notable thing every single week. The only 2 things he hasn't quite figured out are the deep ball, which that just comes with time. Deep balls are really volatile with rookie quarterbacks, especially. I know that hasn't been the case with Jayden. You're spoiled. But like most rookie quarterbacks, you look at everyone apart from Jayden and Stroud over the last 2 years, that's just kind of a thing that happens. And then the sack rate. But again, I think a lot of that is more attributed to him not having a whole ton of help up front.
Yeah. So that's the Bears offense against the Commanders defense. So now that we've gone through both sides of the ball, my final thoughts here is that this is going to be a pretty high scoring game. I think, at least for the Bears offense, because they're going up again. I feel like this Bears offense is just getting better and better every week. The Commanders offense, I'm going to assume Jayden plays because the longer we go without him being ruled out is the longer I think oh my God, I can't speak. It's the more confident I think that he will play, ending up playing on Sunday. Maybe a turnover or 2 is the difference in this one. I have the Bears winning 37-31. So,
okay.
Yes.
I don't know. I didn't come into this with like a set in stone score prediction because I do think if there was a week,
just say 2 numbers.
Right. Listen.
Yeah.
Let me build up to it so I can get there. I will say, the Bears haven't let up a 21-point game in their last 12 games dating back to last year. I think if any week is to break it, it would be this one. If Jayden plays, if we're running under that assumption, I very much think that's possible. I could see this ending up as like a 35 to 28 type of game or like a 35-31 game. Because I agree. If everything's firing on all cylinders offensively for both sides, if Jayden's healthy, then this is going to be a shootout. It's going to be what the people are begging for. There's a reason it got flexed to 4:00. The 2 future faces of the league facing off their rookie year.
Yeah.
But then there's also the world where Mariota plays and the Bears defense says lunchtime and it gets scary. But I will err on the side of it's going to be a shootout because I hope Jayden plays, right? I'm not shying away from the smoke as I've seen a lot of people say that Bears fans want to do. I want to see Jayden be healthy because I want to watch good football. I'm going to this football game. I don't get to do that very often. The last time I was at one, we played y'all on Monday Night Football, and I watched Mitch Trubisky carve up your defense. And if I'm not mistaken, that was the debut of Dwayne Haskins. That's how long it's been since I've been to a football game. I don't want to go there and watch a 40-10 game. Although now that I say it out loud, maybe I do. I don't know. Either way, I'd love to see a shootout. A shootout would be great.
Yeah. I think the Bears will take this one. Jayden has only turned the ball over twice, I believe, this season. Wow. But now he's going up against a very good defense.
I was going to say, this is easily the best defense he's played.
By far, this is easily the best defense he's played. And I do think, at the end of the day, he's a rookie quarterback. I think Eberflus is going to get him at least one time.
Right.
But yeah, so I've been lowballing Commanders games so far. So that's why I have something 37-31, both teams in the 30s. Because every time I go like 24 or 28 points for Washington, they score 42. So we're settling in the 30-ish range. I think Chicago gets it done. Any final thoughts?
I mean, from
for
what
your
you
team?
just said, what I'm hearing is Chicago's about to drop 50.
Okay.
We're lowballing.
Okay. Yeah. No, watch this game be 13-10 at the end.
As long as the Bears win, we take those.
I didn't say who won that. I just leave
Well,
it 13-10.
Well, I'm interpreting it as the Bears because I'm
Okay.
choosing to.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Any final thoughts before we wrap up?
Like I said, I just hope it's a good ball game. I hope everybody has fun. I'll be the bipartisan here and say I hope everyone has a good time. I hope Jayden plays. I hope both quarterbacks go for 405 touchdowns, and it comes down to one of them having to have the weight of the world on their shoulders on a game-winning drive, and they pull it off. Right? That's the ideal scenario, assuming it's Caleb.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for coming on. Where can people find your stuff? And I know you host a couple podcasts.
Yeah, I host the Run the North podcast. We upload on every Friday morning. You can find that on YouTube, Twitter, Apple Podcasts, anywhere you get your podcasts. I'm also a part of the Goal Line podcast. There's 2 episodes of that a week. I'm not on every episode, but it's a bunch of great guys doing a bunch of great football analysis. And then for my individual content, you can find me on YouTube at Miller Football. I do weekly film breakdowns. I've got a College Football 25 series I'm doing. And then also every Friday, I post a fullback theme video. We celebrate Fullback Friday, the greatest position in the history of sports. And then on Twitter, you can find me at Miller Football _. I might get into Blue Sky because apparently that's what all the cool kids are doing. But
is that actually a thing now? Because
apparently, yeah.
I was on it for like a year ago, but like
I didn't know it was around a year ago.
No, it was like when peak was Twitter dead, and it was like,
oh, okay,
yeah, it was around, but now I kind of bought into it. So
gotcha.
Yeah, but yeah. Well, thank you for coming on, and
Absolutely.
Thank you for all who watched or listened to this week's episode of Keeping Up with the Commanders. The next episode will be out on Monday, breaking down Washington's matchup against Chicago. Thank you for watching or listening to this week's episode of Keeping Up with the Commanders. See you guys next one. Peace.